How's it going, everyone? This is the Jose Show. I hope everyone's having a fantastic Wednesday. Well, since the Grammys are right around the corner and they are this Sunday, I'm going to be giving you guys the predictions on who's going to win on this Sunday ceremony. Alrighty then, so to start off my predictions, we are going to predict who could possibly win Record of the Year. Well, for Record of the Year, we have Billie Eilish. For Happier Than Ever, we have I Still Have Faith in You by ABBA, Freedom by John Baptiste, I Get a Kick Out of You by Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga, Peaches by Justin Bieber featuring Daniel Caesar and Game On, Right on Time by Brandi Carlile, Kiss Me More, Doja Cat featuring SZA, Montero, Call Me By Your Name, Little Nas X, Driver's License, Olivia Rodrigo, and Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic. Well, according to ET, it is predicted that Billie Eilish is going to win for her song Happier Than Ever, but that Leave the Door Open by Bruno Mars should win. Alrighty then, so now, Song of the Year. For Song of the Year, we have Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran, A Beautiful Noise by Alicia Keys featuring Brandi Carlile, Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo, Fight For You by her, Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish, Kiss Me More by Doja Cat featuring SZA, Leave the Door Open, Silk Sonic, Montero, Call Me By Your Name, Little Nas X, Peaches, Justin Bieber featuring Daniel Caesar and Give On, Right on Time by Brandi Carlile. And according to ET, Happier Than Ever should win, and Driver's License will win that category. Alright, so now from that category to now, Album of the Year. And the nominees are We Are by John Baptiste, Love for Sale, Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga, Justice, Triple Checks Deluxe, Justin Bieber, Planet Her Deluxe, Doja Cat, Happier Than Ever, Billie Eilish, Back of My Mind, Her, Montero, Little Nas X, Sour, Olivia Rodrigo, Evermore, Taylor Swift, and Donda, Kanye West. Now, according to ET, Happier Than Ever should win, and Happier Than Ever will win. Now, for Best New Artist. For Best New Artist, we have Aruf Aftab, Jimmy Allen, Baby Keem, Phineas, Glass Animals, Japanese Breakfast, The Kid Laroi, Arlo Parks, Olivia Rodrigo, and Saweetie. Now, Olivia Rodrigo should win, and Olivia Rodrigo will win, according to ET. Now, these are the big categories that are predicted for this Sunday's ceremony. And I personally think that these predictions are not very accurate in my opinion, because I feel like Billie Eilish is not going to win any of these categories, and I'm not going to be sounding shady. I'm just saying that because I think Olivia Rodrigo had a better year in music than Billie Eilish did. Because Olivia Rodrigo, she broke records with Driver's License, with Deja Vu, with Good For You, and with her album Sour. And you know what's even more impressive is that her album Sour, not only did it break records, but it was also her debut album. And then another thing that I have to say is that she even got the best week of streaming sales, the best debut streaming week for any debut album, by the way. So that's another thing that she achieved. So with that being said, Olivia Rodrigo deserves and should win and will win the big four categories on this year's ceremony. And I also think that Olivia Rodrigo, not only is she going to win the big four categories, but I also think she's going to win the other categories like Best Pop Vocal Album, Best Pop Solo Performance. So there's that too. So my rooting for this Sunday is definitely going to be going towards Olivia Rodrigo. And also, her music is phenomenal. The woman has a great voice, you know, and at only 18 years old, she is already achieving so much with her music. I mean, it's already impressing, and I know that that is something that the Grammys are wanting, you know. So that's why I know that Olivia Rodrigo is gonna end up winning this year's ceremony by far. And also, I mean, Billie Eilish, she already had her time winning the Grammys. I mean, she already won last year for Record of the Year, and she already won 2 years ago for Record Song, Best New Artist, Best Pop Vocal Album, Best Pop Solo Performance for her debut album, um, Where We All Fall, When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? So there's that. So it's time for Olivia Rodrigo to shine. Now, another thing that I have to say is for the rest of the artists like Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, Bruno Mars, and Doja Cat, I feel like they also have chances to win in this year's ceremony because they also slated last year with their really good records that they released. I mean, Positions was such a great album. It really gave a huge, mature side for Ariana Grande, and it really attracted so many people, especially with her hit single Positions and 34 plus 35. And she also did really good achievements in the charts as well in that album. Now, as for Justin Bieber, he had a great year with Peaches. I mean, he really came up with one of the best anthems of last year, especially of the summer of last year. Um, and that collab with Give On, especially, that was just wonderful. It was just a phenomenal collab right there. It was genius. And I also think that that's something that could give a chance right there to win either Record or Song of the Year. Now, as for Doja Cat's song for Kiss Me More featuring SZA, I think that song also has some chances because I mean that song is also a really good song, and it also was a huge hit last year, and it was all over the radio. Let's not forget about that. So there's that too. So I mean, there are a lot of chances for these other artists too, to win in this year's Grammys. Same with Montero, same with um, A Beautiful Noise, with Bad Habits especially. That was also a huge hit. So yeah, now this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about now how the voting system in the Grammys work. Now, the voting system in the Grammys, they don't really go towards popularity. They kind of do, but they don't really lean 100% towards the popularity of the music. They lean more towards how well written it is, how well done it is, and um, how artistic it is, especially because the Grammys are more in critiquing the artistic of the music than it is of its popularity, which is why in the past a lot of huge hits and a lot of huge artists, they would get snubbed from the Grammys and they wouldn't win at all, and it would end up being the less popular music that would end up winning instead. Just like in 2015, for example, when Beyonce did not win Album of the Year and she lost to Beck. Now, we all know Beyonce is a huge phenomenon around the world, and she was killing it with Beyonce, her self-titled album at the time. And she broke records with that album, and a lot of people were predicting that that album was going to win because it was such a huge hit, and it went number one in a lot of countries, especially here. And unexpectedly, Beck ended up beating Beyonce, and Beck's album was not even near as popular as Beyonce's album was. So that's another example right there um, as to the Grammys really focusing more on the art of the music than in the popularity. Now, another example I have to give you is on Luis Fonsi and Daddy Yankee when they got nominated for Song of the Year and Record of the Year back in the 2018 Grammys. They were highly expected to win because that song was a huge hit. It went number one for 16 weeks in the Hot 100. It really almost broke the record for most weeks at number one in the Hot 100, but it tied with Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men's One Sweet Day for most weeks at number one, which was huge. And a lot of people were already predicting that that was going to win. That song was going to win because of that. But unexpectedly, Bruno Mars ended up beating um, that song with his hit single, 24 Karat Magic, and That's What I Like, in both of those categories. And those two songs from Bruno Mars, they were huge hits too, and they all That's What I Like did hit number one, and 24 Karat Magic was a huge top 10 hit, but those two songs were not near as huge as Despacito was, because Despacito was number one for 16 weeks. So that's another example right there, um, that, popularity isn't really always the key for the Grammys. It's more the artist, and the artistic of the song, the art of the song. So that is my take on that. Now, in terms of the fact that the song was basically all over the radio and it was heard so much that everyone loved it. Now, the Grammys also do not focus on that as well, because, like I said, it's more about the art than about the popularity. It really is. We have to admit it. Um, so yeah, that's my take on that. Now, what I have to say about the Grammys in terms of choosing which genre is the best for them to win, especially the most important award of the night, which is Album of the Year. Um, as we know, these past several years, hip hop songs have been snubbed for winning Album of the Year, and it has always been given to the country albums or to the pop albums, but more to the pop albums. And as we know, 2 years ago, that was the Album of the Year win was given to Billie Eilish for When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? And then last year at the Grammys for Album of the Year, that win was given to Folklore by Taylor Swift. And then the year before that, it was given to Casey Musgraves. And then the year before that, it was given to, it was given to, who was it given to back in 2018? Brain Freeze. But anywho, it was also given to another album that was not a hip hop album. And so, anywho, that's a good example right there that the Grammys have been snubbing hip hop albums way more than pop albums, and that the Grammys are more in favor of the pop albums than the hip hop albums. Now, let's see if Lil Nas X is gonna make that upset, that huge difference on this year's Grammys, if he's gonna end up winning Album of the Year, who knows? Or if Doja Cat's gonna win for Planet Her, because Planet Her is, considered a hip hop album as well. I mean, Doja Cat is a hip hop artist too, not just R&B. So let's just see if they can make that huge difference. Or Donda by Kanye West, that's another hip hop album. So let's just see if maybe those artists can make the difference this year for this year's Grammys. If those hip hop albums can end up making, can end up being the first hip hop album in years to win Album of the Year. So let's just see. But it's just interesting to see, though, how the Grammys are really more in favor of the pop albums and the R&B albums and the country albums than in the hip hop. But I just think it's like I said, it's all depending on the people behind the Grammy committee that are thinking if hip hop is really good enough for a Grammy win these days. If it's not, especially for the big categories, if it's not, so that's how we should see it as. Okay, so now from that to now more about the Grammys. So, anywho, as we all know, last year Taylor Swift won for Album of the Year for her album Folklore, and she only won one out of her many other nominations that she was nominated in last year's ceremony. So this year, I really think it would be awesome if Evermore were to win Album of the Year because that album was also really good. But I don't think it was really as good as Folklore because Folklore really proved more artistic sides. It really proved more expression and it really showed more um, of a darker side, but in a creative way from Taylor Swift. And I feel like Evermore was just an imitation of Folklore. And I feel like it was just trying to be hard to be, it was trying to be hard to be as good as Folklore. So that's my take on that. So, and I really don't think that the Grammys are really going to like that. I think that the Grammys are just going to just see it as an imitation of Folklore and not give the album of the year win to Evermore. They're not. But it would be nice because I mean it's still a good album, but not as good as Folklore. Um, so that's what I think about that. And that is basically like the only nomination that Taylor has for this year, by the way, and this year's Grammys. So that's pretty amazing. And interesting at the same time. So anywho, that's another take that I have on this. Now on to um, the Grammys. Onto the way these, onto the way the Grammys nominate these artists. Now, the way the Grammys nominate these artists is a very, very delicate process, and it's very picky process as well as we can all tell because unfortunately we have seen so many snubs in the past by so many artists. So um, this is what I think is going on in the Grammy committee as to why it's just so picky when it comes to nominating these people in the Grammys. What happens is that the Grammys, yes, they notice that so many people like one song and other people likes another song and another, and then you know there's this other song too that stands out so much as well. But um what happens is that these people look more in how these artists and how these songs are um not just written, but they also focus on how meaningful it is to be considered to be in considered for a Grammy. They consider the meaning of it too, you know, which is why a lot of the times we notice that you know artists like The Weeknd, for example, or Camila Cabello, for example, or Taylor Swift, for example, that didn't get nominated in other categories this year. They just were like, well, this just doesn't have the much meaning it has in order for it to be nominated for a Grammy. So we just might as well not nominate it at all, you know. And it's that really intervenes with nominating a song or an album or not, or an artist or not. So that's what it is in my opinion here. So that's that. And now, speaking of nominations, Dua Lipa would have gotten nominated for her hit song Levitating, which, by the way, dominated the charts last year and is still charting to this day, you guys, which is amazing. But the problem is that Dua Lipa never considered to put the to put her hit song "Levitating" to be nominated at the Grammys. She never submitted it, so that's the reason why the song did not get nominated for this year's ceremony. But um, I mean, it would have been nice though that the song would have gotten nominated, and I think that the song would have won if it would have gotten nominated, in my opinion, because it was a huge song and also it was a very well created song too, with a lot of meaning and everything. It's just that what would question me the most is if, or make me wonder, is if they would nominate the baby, which was the one that was featuring in the song with Dua Lipa, because the baby Um, as we all know, he went through so much backlash last year with his homophobic comments on Twitter, that he even ended up getting banned from so many music festivals, and it really caused even the Billboard charts to even eliminate the version with the baby and just put the solo version all over the radio and all over pop radio especially. So and of course for it to chart in the charts as well, so they eliminated his credits as well. So it really was a big deal. So that's what I think. If Levitating were to be nominated, then it would end up being just Dua Lipa, in my opinion. But that's another story right there. But I'm just saying. Um, but anywho, yeah. So now on to more stuff about the Grammys. So this is what I have to say about Dua Lipa. About Olivia Rodrigo. Now, Olivia Rodrigo, like I said earlier, she has been slaying it this past year with her hit album Sour. But here's one thing I have to say, and this is one thing that ET has to say. Well, apparently, Sunday Night will mint Rodrigo as the newest Best New Artist, a mantle she seems totally prepared to assume, even at the young age of 19. The Disney Star chart topper will gave us a debut album packed with memorable hits and declared in her recent documentary, Driving Home to You, that she's more than ready to keep making music that speaks to her personal experience and an ever-growing legion of fans. Here's to many more Grammys to come. MK. So, anywho, that's something that is being said by ET. Um, so, anywho, good luck to Olivia Rodrigo, and yes, good luck to everyone else that is nominated in this Sunday's ceremony. So yeah. So anywho, from that to now, more about the Grammys. So now let's talk more about not not about Olivia Rodrigo, but now about more about the Grammys. Okay, so now let's talk about the um, the last few years of the Grammys in honor of this year's ceremony. Um, well, we already talked about the past winners from the previous Grammys, and well, anywho, now we're gonna talk about the nominees from the Grammys of the previous years. Well, okay, so now let's talk about last year when let's talk about um, Beyonce nominated with Megan Thee Stallion. Now, Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion, as we all know, they won last year. They won huge, and it gave Beyonce her record-setting 27th win for the Grammys. Um, anywho, when Beyonce and Megan Thee Stallion were both nominated together for the hit remix of Savage, a lot of people were already predicting that the song was gonna win, but that there was already other hip hop artists that were going to beat that song. And because let's be real here. Last year, 2 years ago, hip hop was just very stiff, especially in the radio. It was just very stiff. It was just a huge competition. It still is, but not as huge as 2 years ago, especially during the pandemic. And with that being said, a lot of people were already making predictions that other songs could win, not Megan Thee Stallion, because those other songs could be way better and this and that. And it was just a huge dilemma. It was a huge big deal back then, and Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce, they proved those hip hop artists wrong, and they proved all those people wrong because they ended up winning um, best pop, no, best hip hop slash best, let's see, best hip hop performance. Yes, they won that, and yeah, they won best hip hop performance and best rap performance. I remember they won those two categories last year, and it was actually pretty dope. I mean, just to see that